News of the day. So welcome to Thursday, October 24th edition of News of the Day. Andrey Markov has signed with Locomotive in the KHL, so he will not be in the and really, I don't think Markov was getting offered much of anything. Let's be honest. Odds are if he was getting offers, it would have been for 700 grand league minimum. There wouldn't have been any safeguards in place. No guarantee he would have made the team, not been cut. And so Markov goes back to Locomotive. And I never got the feeling there was a whole lot of interest around the league in him, because if there was, he probably would have been signed pretty quick. It's just a matter of the league keeps getting younger. So, at times over the last 20 years, you would have seen a guy like this come back. But combined with the league getting younger, and then you look at Kovalchuk and how the Kings have ended up with this guy who's not living up to his contract to Kovalchuk, and Markov's older, you can understand it. At least I think Markov's older. I think Markov's a year older. It doesn't matter. Markov's in the KHL, and I wish him all the best and all of that wonderful stuff, but his career in the NHL is likely finished. Kakko, I feel bad for this guy, to be honest. The New York Rangers as a team haven't been playing great, and he says that. But he also says he's playing bad hockey, and when he was asked what he needed to improve, he said everything. So Kakko's off to a slow start. Jack Hughes is off to a slow start offensively in New Jersey. It's hard to play in the NHL when you're a teenager. This is something that we know, and we'll see whether or not these guys end up spending the full season in the NHL or not. Leon Draisaitl is a good example of a player that came in, struggled his first year, played almost half a season, and then ended up being sent down. Everybody looks at the 9-game mark. The real question is not that 9-game mark, but do they end up playing enough games during that season to burn off that contract? So we'll be asking this question, I think, for a while with Kakko. Toronto. The reason I'm wearing Toronto Maple Leafs gear. Settle the down. Holy crap. I am stunned, even by a standard that's so low. They're missing Tavares, and the record hasn't been horrible without Tavares. But holy crap, every article on Sportsnet and TSN right now would lead you to believe this team is absolutely awful. Everything's gone wrong. Everybody's playing badly. Set the place on fire and cash it in for insurance. My God, it is October 24th. It's a week till Halloween. I am just settle down. It's not that bad. It is a league of parity, and expecting that Matthews and Marner are just going to have amazing seasons and we won't have these moments early on where they have struggles. Come on. I debated about whether or not to put in any single article that they had, and I thought, nah, it's insane. And then I see all these articles on Vancouver, conversely, because they know my IP address and where I'm from, just Canucks talk, and all of it is sunshiny and rosy about how great the Canucks are and how the Canucks should be able to hold this up. Whoa, let's settle that down too. Dear Lord. Yeah, it's a good start. Just enjoy the good start and don't look at, 30 games down the road, 40 games, 50 games down the road. It's insane. I'm even by the usual crazy standards, this is really crazy. So I had to put that on the board. Just settle down. Settle down, Toronto. And I'm not talking to the fans. I don't think the fans are the ones it's just media. Holy crow. All right. With Connor Murphy out long-term with a groin injury, the Chicago Blackhawks will have Slater Cuckoo playing tonight. He's only played 2 games this year. This will be his 3rd. And this is an opportunity for him to play regularly and to step up. And it's an opportunity for everybody on that blue line to show, hey, we like Connor Murphy and a great guy and all, but we can do it without him. So Chicago is going to be tested. Disappointing starts. Ryan O'Reilly's very disappointed in his start. He feels that he is not playing particularly well. He doesn't deserve all the ice time he's been getting. I think he's being very hard on himself, but you know what? He's a Conn Smythe winner, and part of being a Conn Smythe winner is holding yourself to a really high standard. So he's holding himself to that standard. I don't think the Blues have been off to a fantastic start. I do think Stanley Cup hangover is part of it. It is really hard in October to get up for all those games after having that huge moment in June and winning that Stanley Cup. It can be really hard, and it can take some teams a while to come out of that slump. In some cases, that slump hits around middle of the season, but there is definitely a Stanley Cup hangover that takes place, and it's existed for decades. So it's nothing new. So I would expect O'Reilly and the Blues to pick it up. Oscar Dansk has been sent down in the game against Philly. I didn't think he played great, but I also didn't think the loss was his fault. That being said, Garrett Sparks has been called up. It's his chance. Until Malcolm Subban comes back from injury, it is Sparks' chance to prove himself. So we'll see what goes on for Vegas from here. But I get the feeling Fleury's going to play a ton again this year. I just get that feeling he's going to play 65, 66, 70 games. I think he could play a lot this year, is what I'm saying. Gerard Gallant may very well be saying, all right, it's Mark, it's his net. That's it. We're done. We're good. It's just up to him. So yeah, I feel bad for Dansk, but I do like Sparks. I thought he played well enough in the preseason. We'll see what he can do if he gets a chance to play in the net before Subban comes back. Islanders, this is interesting. So this was just kind of a throw-in on TSN, and I thought, this is really interesting to me in that Josh Hosang was told by Lou Lamoriello, don't bother reporting to Bridgeport. Don't bother. Just go work out in Toronto, and we'll trade you. All right? We are now over 3 weeks into the NHL season. Josh Hosang has played zero hockey. He's still practicing in Toronto. And he's just waiting for a trade. Lou's still working on it. And the question I have to ask myself is, so why not, if the trade wasn't going to happen right away, why not allow him to report to Bridgeport? He was willing to do it. Is this trying to keep him out of the Bridgeport locker room? Is there something you just want to keep away from the team? Or did you really think that the trade was going to happen that soon? The longer he's not playing hockey, the less likely teams are to take that chance on him, and the more it'll drive his value down. There's a reason why Puljujarvi, playing over in Europe, is helping the Oilers' case for making a trade. And Hosang's value, down. He needs to show that he'll play in the American League and that he's got that attitude that's finally in line and that he's living up to his advanced billing. He can't do that while he's practicing in Toronto. So it's an odd situation, and I don't know how much longer it goes on. Now that I've got it in a video, he'll get traded today. But Hosang, we'll see. Finally, Dubnyk's listed as being out with an upper body injury. It's considered day-to-day. When a player hits the back of their head on the ice, though, I always think, well, that's a concussion. And that's just standard thought for me now, is that if a guy hits his head at all, it's a concussion. You do not have to hit your head to have a concussion. And I've mentioned this before. I've seen it where somebody, a coworker of mine, had a concussion and didn't strike their head on anything. But it was a whiplash type injury, and that can cause a concussion as well. Hitting your head on the ice, that is alarming. And he hit pretty hard. So Dubnyk's listed as day-to-day. I don't have any reason to think he won't be. And the good news, if you're a Minnesota Wild fan, is it looks like Stalock is playing his best hockey maybe of his career so far this season. The trick being it's a very small sample size. But we'll see how Stalock does against Nashville tonight. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of news of the day, I haven't heard anything on Jack Hughes being upset about his play, just about Kakko and his being upset with his play. And I would hope there's a lot of New York Rangers that agree and are looking in the mirror and going, okay, we've got to be better than this. Yeah, one last thing. Settle down, Toronto, please, for the love of all. And it's interesting in that, yes, Toronto has the most fans. If you looked at subscriber numbers to this channel, I'm sure Toronto fans would be the largest number of, just because they have the largest fan base in the league. And I understand that's part of what goes on here is kind of clickbaity headlines and articles, which is why I'm not going to put it in my in the title of this video at all. Just I don't see any reason to think Toronto's going to miss the playoffs. I certainly don't see that yet. And they have a really solid young nucleus. So it's weird to me in that, in part because they picked up Tavares, in part because they're going to have a hard time keeping a blue line together past this season. There is some urgency this year that they kind of have to win it this year. But I think that for Matthews and Marner, these guys are still really young. And I think there's a lot of pressure on these guys that I would put higher than pressure I saw in Dougie Gilmour back in the 90s. And Gilmour was older than that back in the 90s. He was more capable of holding on and dealing with it. But it's going to be a long season. No team is out of it right now. Some teams are trying to be out of it. Looking at you, Detroit. Looking at you, Ottawa. And Dallas. But no team is necessarily assured of a playoff spot yet either, even though Buffalo's amazing start, Colorado's amazing start, and of course Boston being Boston makes it look like they should be shoo-ins, but nothing is set. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching and for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.